Right, so the confusion regarding this year's budget iPad continues because Macotakara gives us new tidbits that kinda make no sense, but anyways, let's delve into it. So Macotakara is a relatively credible source, and they have details regarding the design of this iPad, and there's been many conflicting reports regarding that. At first, we had reports regarding a major redesign for this iPad, then Gurman told us that no, that's not going to be the case. This would look identical to the current base iPads, which kinda made no sense because if this was getting the Type-C ports, it would need to convert to Apple Pencil 2 support, and for that to happen we need flat sides, hence why I was pretty confident in a redesign, and MySmartPrice was kinda in between these two arguments, basically telling us we could see a hybrid curse design of sorts, with an iPad 9 front and flat sides like the iPad Pros. And what Macotakara now tells us that those CADs from MySmartPrice are missing a few key details, and we could actually get a major redesign with this iPad. So they say the overall dimensions of the CADs are right, which to be honest is kinda confusing because if you take a look at the dimensions MySmartPrice gave us, those don't match the iPad Pro 11-inch and the iPad Air 5, which would be pretty odd because surely Apple wants us to work with first-party cases and share the 11-inch keyboards those iPads have, and so why would this be slightly taller and wider than those iPads? Now yes, I know the difference is pretty small, so I guess you could argue the rough dimensions are mostly accurate, but anyways, let's delve into the new details Macotakara tells us, and that begins with the power button because, much like the iPad Air 5 and the iPad mini, Macotakara believes this iPad's gonna have Touch ID integrated in the power button, which of course means there should not be a home button on the front, hence resulting in a design that's very similar to the other iPads. Now obviously I'm hoping this is the case because we've had the same design for the budget iPads since 2017, which of course is a design that originates from 2013 with the first gen iPad Air, so yes, it's time we see the 2018 iPad Pro redesign come to this iPad. Also, iPadOS is heavily gesture based. In fact, the current budget iPads support the gestures even with the home button on the front. And so with the software focusing on gestures, I do think it's time the budget iPad loses the home button. Now I do want to mention the bezels could be thick on this to make it look worse than the iPad Air and the Pro because ultimately Apple wants you to spend more and get those iPads. And so much like they did with the iPad Air, I could see Apple giving us slightly thicker bezels, though this is still going to be a massive improvement over the current iPad. However, things do get more confusing because Macotakara also tells us the front-facing camera is moving to the right with this iPad. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but what I'm predicting is the case is we're seeing the camera move to a landscape position. Now, this would be terrific. I know many do want this. And of course, with many of us using iPads in landscape first, moving the position of the camera to give us a much less awkward zoom experience with these iPads would be appreciated. However, I do also have my doubts about this being the case because, number one, Center Stage did kind of fix the awkward angle that we have with the camera being on the portrait side. But also do remember the charging strip for the pencils on that side of the iPads, and so I doubt that Apple has any space to give us a camera in the landscape orientation. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's why Apple gave us Center Stage instead. But let's say Apple does use their magic and somehow gives us a camera in the landscape orientation. Now if this is the case, why would they bring it to the budget iPad first? Surely it should debut with the iPad Pros, much like Center Stage, and then come down to the other iPads. And actually, I would not be surprised if there was some sort of miscommunication where, of course, they thought this was going to come to the budget iPads, but their source was referring to the M2 iPad Pros because there has been some talk regarding this for those higher-end iPads. And so yes, maybe we do somehow see it, but I doubt the budget iPad's getting this. Anyways, let's delve into your comments. So Dickai says, will the 10th gen iPads have a refresh rate of 120Hz? And no, I don't think the base iPad is getting 120Hz anytime soon, because of course the iPad mini and the iPad Air, which are more expensive iPads, are still stuck at 120Hz, and so it seems 120Hz is going to remain as an exclusive for the iPad Pros. So Nabila says, will the iPad 10 be better than the iPad Air 4? And no, I don't think that's going to be the case, because even if we do get the best case scenario, which of course is a complete iPad Pro like redesign, I'm sure there's still going to be thicker bezels on the front to differentiate this iPad. Since Apple did actually do that with the iPad Air 4, that had thicker bezels than the 11-inch iPad Pro, so of course further thickening the bezels on the base iPads makes a lot of sense. Also, another best case scenario would of course be a panel that's laminated, but do remember there would still be other cons with this iPad, like the lack of P3 support or higher brightness. So yeah, if you do find a good deal on the iPad Air 4, I do recommend getting that, but of course, I'm pretty sure that once the iPad 10 does launch, those deals on the iPad Air 4 are slowly going to die down. Really, this iPad makes the most sense for those walking into a store, paying retail, and of course, wanting the cheapest iPad. But like is the case with the iPhone SE, I'm sure you could find better value iPads for the same price from third parties. So Post Digital Audio says there are too many iPad offerings, and I don't personally agree with that, because I feel like the iPad lineup is quite distinct and caters to different markets, and really the only models that overlap are the iPad Pro 11-inch and the iPad Air 5. And so maybe in the future Apple can give us bigger sizes for the iPad Pro, but apart from that, I feel like each iPad does serve its purpose. So V says a panel that's laminated and Apple Pencil 2 support would be a sure buy for me, and yes, I completely agree with this, especially regarding a laminated panel, because that is the biggest issue with the iPad, and so I'm really praying Apple fixes this. Anyways, that's about it guys, but tell me your thoughts regarding these reports in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching guys, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out above on details regarding the M2 iPad Pros, and on that note, see ya peeps.